Anyway, so let's leap into a little bit more about remote work, because I think it's very, very timely. We've really skimmed across the surface on this. So some of the challenges, there's quite a few challenges of people in doing this. So number one of the biggest challenges is building and scaling remote businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Sure. I mean, from a tactical perspective, it really boils down to communication and process documentation. Those are the two major differentiators between successful and unsuccessful remote teams. There is a trend and a methodology which I definitely purport to, which is called asynchronous management philosophy. And that is really the difference between a remote first organization and an in-office, or what we like to call on-premise organization. So the concept that information does not have to happen synchronously, meaning you do not have to pull your attention to the stream of that information in order to consume it. And I give people the example of old school television that you'd pick up on an antenna, or cable news where it's a direct stream versus Netflix. That's the difference between asynchronous and synchronous communication. I'm more of a Netflix person. So I want to consume that content when I choose. And the more that I have to schedule around communication, the more detrimental the organization actually becomes. And this is something that we've found in countless examples for remote first pioneers that have really kind of come up with this entire concept of remote first work and implementing remote work at scale. The most successful ones are the ones that are able to basically figure out asynchronous communication at scale. So perfect example, let's say that I was going to do a company address. We usually do it once a month. We do it synchronously, meaning we make an address directly on Zoom, and you can log in and you can watch that content directly on Zoom, or you can watch the recording. And it doesn't matter which one you do. It's up to you, because we really want to adapt to your schedule. And most people watch it asynchronously. So they wait until that stream is available at a time zone that's most opportune for them after they've done all of their work, and they consume that content at that point. The second problem is process documentation. So a lot of companies, the difference between a unsuccessful company and a successful one generally boils down to process documentation at scale. So what does that mean? Well, inside of our organization, we have information that is digitized and processed out and given into our cloud network. So we use a tool called Trainual to be able to do that. You can use something like GitLab, you can use something like Google Docs, it really doesn't matter. But as long as everything that is written down about everything about your business is written down and put on a system like that for anyone else to consume inside of the organization, that allows you to scale that organization. So if we were sitting next to each other and I was a new employee at your company, Jeff, I would say, hey, Jeff, how do I do X? And you would just look at me and you'd say, oh, here's how you do X. When you're remote, that doesn't happen. So we basically just make digital Jeffs, right? We have a perspective, which is there's no sacred knowledge inside of our organization. Okay. And when you actually document that information, this is another one that I stole from Napoleon, which is orders shouldn't be easy to understand, but impossible to misunderstand. And that's a bit of a click that you just have to recognize when you're building process documentation, but don't make it easy to understand, make it impossible to misunderstand, which takes a lot of time at the beginning. But once you can actually deploy it at scale, then you can go from 5 people to 50 people to 500 people without that much difficulty. There's a great resource for this from one of the absolute pioneers of remote work, which is at about.gitlab.com/handbook. And that is the largest open source remote process document on the planet. It's about 8,000 pages. And it's everything that you could possibly know about GitLab. So what kind of stock options do you get? It's in there. How do you sign an email? It's in there. How do they do demos for clients? It's all in there, and it's all open source. So you can actually grab it, you can steal the information that you want, and you can create your own process document on GitLab very quickly and easily. And then at least you've got something for your people to be able to work with moving forward.